So with I do these little videos, and hopefully you should be getting an email from me with the links to them. So if you want to watch it again, or if you missed a session, you can then see what's covered. Right, okay, so today's first session of a 4-week watercolour course project, and I'm really going for the absolute basic techniques to start with. So if you're used to using watercolours, then this may be a bit too low down, really. Because I know you said you'd use watercolours quite a bit, and so it may be a little bit too basic. But for those of you that haven't and want to just start from the absolute scratch, these are exercises that some of these I used years ago when I used to teach full watercolour courses. And what I found was that quite often students would spend quite a bit of time drawing things out, but weren't that familiar with watercolours, so things would go rapidly wrong. So the idea of these exercises is really just to practice the watercolour itself, and to get you used to how the watercolour handles. Okay. So one idea is just to get a flat wash, to be able to paint a flat wash. And then what I've then done is sort of applied that to something like a kind of mountain scene or hilly scene. So it's really like a series of flat washes. And I'll try and do it from that side so you can see too. So working with a flat wash to start with. The other thing is I'll talk a little bit about the materials as well as I'm going. So the kind of watercolours, the paper is watercolour paper. I've got some of this for sale if you want. It's twice that size and it's 40p a sheet. So if anybody needs watercolour paper, I've got watercolour paper. And I've got a guillotine for chopping it down to size. These exercises, I thought I'd try them quite small because it's more manageable if you're just working on a small area. So there are some of these like photo mounts, so you can just draw in a little square or rectangle in there if you want to. You want to borrow one of those. The paints themselves, I'm using tubes of paint. Just get some out. So most of them are Winsor & Newton cotton watercolour. So they usually come that sort of size, a little tube like that. And it's probably a few pounds for a tube. And if you want to get into watercolours, probably just a couple of tubes would do. You don't need everything. I'm mostly, for these exercises, just going to be working light and dark. So I'm not going to worry too much about actual colours. Just getting tonal variations, really. These are like a student grade paint, so they're good enough. You can get much nicer paints, artist quality paints, which will, the colours are more intense. But I wouldn't go, unless you've got the paints already, I wouldn't go any cheaper than these. So these are quite a good place to start. Paper palettes, you can get all sorts of palettes. This one, I can just squeeze the paint out here, and it actually has got a seal on, so that keeps the paint damp for next time. So that's quite a nice palette. I think this was maybe 12 or 15 pounds. This has got a nice, well, this is probably 3 or 4 pounds, and you've got loads of space to mix, and then you can probably paint your tube colours out here, so that's a good one. And you can get somewhere I've got, this is kind of the one I take out sketching with me, which was very old, shabby one that one of my students gave me once. But yeah, it's very
he doesn't throw anything away.
Much love.
Which one's yellow?
Yeah, well that's the question. Yeah.
I'd be worried if you said that was a new one.
Yeah. It's kind of handy because it's nice and small. Sometimes we sketch in the pub or something like that. So that other one is a bit big to go on the table and things. So I quite like that one. And there are some more still. I've got one probably about that size that will fit in my pocket, and that's quite nice for going out sketching. So that's palettes. Brushes. You can get like nice quality watercolour brushes. If you get a decent one, probably you're going to spend perhaps 10 to 12 quid on one about that size. This is actually a really cheap one from a set from Lidl's. So I think the whole set was about 3 quid, and it's not too bad. I seem to be able to manage to use that. I just bought it as a set, just thinking so that there's some brushes around for anybody who wants to use a brush. Yep.
Paul, is there a difference with the brushes that I'm using for acrylic to be able to use the same brushes can I use the
Yeah,
same
you probably
brushes
can.
for
Yeah,
watercolour?
yeah. I would think so. Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is.
I think the acrylic ones might be just slightly more springy, maybe. You could get these are like a nylon. This one, so you can get artificial, like nylon ones, or you can get natural hair ones. So the natural hair ones might be, I can't remember what they use. Some are sable, which is very expensive. They're really nice to use. They hold lots of moisture. That's the nice thing about those. And they keep the shape quite well, but the tips will gradually wear away with the sable brush. I've got one or two of those left somewhere. But acrylic brushes should be fine. Yeah, fairly soft, so that should be good. Yeah. And then this one, I can't remember what kind of hair this is, but this is, it's a bit floppy, but it's great for holding lots of moisture because it's a natural hair brush. So I could do a wash very quickly and easily with that, whereas this is going to be a bit more work. But I'll demonstrate with this one just so you can see the difference. Yeah, I think that's the main thing about the materials. If anybody wants to borrow anything, sorry, there's paper for sale there, but if you need to borrow anything, just feel free. Hello, hiya. Kimmy. Right, so actually, the first one, I'll just demonstrate doing a flat wash to start with. So just, the thing is to mix lots of, if you haven't got a palette like this, even just like an old sauce or an old plate would do, just something where you've got a bit of a dish shape so you can make a big wash. So just get plenty of paint out to start with, and just then get lots of, just put lots of moisture on there like that. And the thing that I've found is that quite often students won't get it wet enough, won't get the paper wet enough. And again, even just after explaining this morning, still quite a few of the students were still painting quite dry. And that's when they start to look a bit streaky and a little bit overworked. So if you can get a big puddle of paint mix like that, I won't tip it anymore. But and then if you're working, you ideally want to work perhaps on a bit of something like a board. If you've got a piece of old board like that, and if you can just have it at an angle a little bit like that, so that the paint just gently runs down. This is very steep, this is far too steep. If it's dead flat, you tend to get like little puddles, but you just want it to just gently run down the slope. So with a board, just prop it up with maybe a pencil case or something at the back. And then to pop the wash on, start over here, just work it like that. You can see, so just keeping it really wet. So I'm almost like rehydrating the brush with every brush stroke. And you're getting this little bead of paint at the bottom. And the good thing about that is it just keeps that edge wet, so it's not going to dry too quickly. Just got to keep working that across. Some colours seem to sit better with a flat wash. So this purple seems to do quite nicely. Some of the blues get a little bit grainy and a bit blotchy, I think. That seems to be working quite nicely. And that's why it's quite good to work on a small scale. If I was trying to get the whole paper with that brush, it just wouldn't really be realistic. It would start drying too quickly and get a bit blotchy. So something like that. And then you might find that at the end you've still got a bit of a puddle. I haven't actually, but I'll just add it in anyway. So if you've got something like that at the end, you then want to just dry that off, because if I left that to dry, the colour would run out and you get all sorts of streaky cauliflower effects. We call it run backs, where the colour kind of drains out of these areas and you're left with an awkward looking edge. So usually what I do is you have a bit of rag, which I seem to have left over there, so I'll just do that. And then, so just dry the brush off on a bit of kitchen towel or a bit of rag or something, and then you just absorb that edge. And then that should dry as a nice flat wash then. So that's the flat washes. And as I say, something like this exercise, this was just an image of mountains I found on the computer. And the idea is to progressively go from like lighter tones and work down to the darker tones. What I've done is I've painted each area separately and let it dry in between. So it's important to let it dry, otherwise you'll get the colours just draining into each other. So what I find is, maybe while you've got, maybe have a couple of these on the go, and while one's drying, work on another one. So I'll just do a little bit down here. This is obviously much darker. So the idea is to just try and get a little bit darker than that, but I don't really want the colour too solid. So with watercolours, in general, you're not using white paint. You're not mixing white paint in with the colours. You're just using the white of the paper showing through. And it may be that there's a few highlights that you're dotting with white paint at the end. But the idea is to get this nice transparent glowing quality. And the paper you'll find is whiter than any paint that's made. So I can then just go back over this bit here, and hopefully that is slightly darker than the colour I've got there. And it's, as well as getting the tones, it's also good practice in just trying to work around, interesting shapes and working quickly and just trying to keep. What I don't want is for that to dry, so I'm just trying to keep up one wet edge at a time. So it's probably best to just do it along like that. And because as soon as that starts to dry, I'll get like brush marks. So I'm just getting a series of flat areas. But that may look at quite a simple exercise. It's one that I hadn't practiced for a few nights with these exercises just because I haven't really done it for a while. I'm not really particularly a watercolour artist. So yeah, they're surprisingly challenging, I would say. So that's that one. Another exercise, if you want, is this is where I've done what I call a graded wash. So this was this morning. So I've basically gone dark and then kept adding bits of water and trying to get it lighter as I go down. So this is handy, say, if you're painting landscape, you've got like a really strong blue at the top and then it goes a little bit lighter as you get towards the horizon. So that's another exercise you could do. For this one, I've got these kind of Blue Hills images, if you want to choose one of those. Or you could really just make it up and just improvise a mountain range. With the graded wash, the idea of, I've got some pictures like this, and you could have, maybe a little bit darker here and gradually getting lighter. So that's an image I use for that one. But what I suggest is sort of perhaps do these first and then go on to that one, if you're not familiar with watercolours. If you are familiar with watercolours or you don't want to do watercolours, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, that's my attempt at my Scottish landscape.
How did you get that pattern with the white on the right hand side? So yeah, point just at the bottom of the hill.
Here?
Yeah, with a white colour.
So what I did there was I basically dampened the paper. I'll do a little bit.
It's like a puddle and it's sort of spread out. Was it flat?
Yeah, I'll just do that little bit, that little top bit in. So basically sketched it in with a pencil, roughly a kind of hill shape. So it's something like that. So the other thing that's handy, although I think we might run out, is having two pots of water, a clean one and one for washing brushes. But I think I probably need to bring more pots in, so I'm not sure if we've got enough. But that's quite good. So what I did with that bit at the bottom where it's misty, so just put some water. That needs to be clean water. So imagine that's just clean water. But it's then got somewhere to mingle into. So you then kind of work your hill, something like that. Then going a little bit lighter as you go.
Were you working with it on a canvas that way then? Or I mean on an easel, or was it flat?
No, I did it flat. It's better flat.
Flat,
This is just so you can see what I'm doing.
Yeah,
But then if you work into water, a wet area,
Yeah.
you'll get that kind of soft edge.
And it does
Yeah, it'll just soft out and blend.
clouds.
That's all kind of working into wet areas. I'll do a bit of that next week. But yeah, two exercises, the flat areas and the, if you wanted to do both. Okay, is there anybody got any questions? No? All good to go? Right, good.